Hi, I'm Tonya Caruso. Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. It's been facing Allegheny County for a long time. Now the rest of the state could soon be involved. Joining us in our studios this half hour is State Representative Jesse White. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today.
Thrilled to be here.
We're talking about property tax reassessments and really a big deal.
This is a really big deal, and it's going to be a bigger deal in the coming weeks and months for a lot of different reasons. One of the things what we're talking about today is my bill in the state legislature, which is House Bill 166, which was just introduced. And what that's going to do is to impose a moratorium on any court-ordered reassessments in any specific county. I represent parts of Allegheny and Washington counties, and they're both under court-ordered reassessments. So we're going to try to put a stop to that until we can get a unified system or some basic protections in place to help home and property owners.
So Allegheny County has been dealing with this for so long, and now it's starting to spread to other parts of the state. Is that why there is now some interest? Because now other people have to feel this pain as well?
I think it's a combination of that. It's a timely issue because it's happening in other places. But I think one of the other reasons is, it's kind of silly that we're having these court-ordered reassessments that in Washington County, for example, is going to cost taxpayers $8 million to do this reassessment. But the problem is, because there's no standards, it's like building a house without having any blueprints. You're being forced to buy all the materials and just kind of put together the best house you can. That's not a long-term plan. So what we're trying to do is get some basic protections, some basic uniformity to the system. In the last session of the legislature, we completed a 220-page report on ways that we can try to improve this system statewide. And what we're going to do now is the moratorium is just the first piece. The second piece will be to actually implement it, to bring around the legislation with some solutions.
Now, the State House had passed a moratorium last time around, and it died in the Senate. What's leading you to believe it won't die, the moratorium won't die this time around?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, I think the politics, that was a very politically charged issue with the gubernatorial race last year. The politics, I think, are out of it now. But I think more importantly, and I think people need to realize, this is not a partisan issue. This is because it's Democrat, Republican, Independent. Everybody, we're all homeowners, we all pay property taxes. What this really boils down to is at a time where we've got to be cutting our spending, we've got to be fiscally responsible. It doesn't make any sense for us to be spending millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer money to do these reassessments without any idea of what we're supposed to be doing.
How quickly do you think you can get this moratorium passed?
Well, we're going to be having a policy committee hearing on this in February in Washington County to try to raise awareness. It's already jumped all over the place. Allegheny County is making their own moves on it. So I think the issue's ripe, and we're going to try to, the bill has just been introduced, we're going to try to get pushed to the legislature as quickly as possible because it really is a very timely and important issue.
Okay, so I want to go back to the report that you were talking about that kind of outlined some ways to make this better, to make this more uniform. Does anybody do it right? Can you study another state and say they do this properly?
That's exactly what we did. We looked at what was wrong in Pennsylvania, some of the disparities between counties, and then we looked at what other states do. And the report is extensive, and it really goes through, and it's a nonpartisan report that gives, it's not just necessarily this is how you have to do it, and I think the approach might be how can we allow counties to do it in a way with some basic protections so that someone's taxes don't jump 300% in 1 year. So that school districts can't receive a huge windfall, because what we're really doing is redefining what a mill is worth. So it's raising the ability to raise property taxes for everybody. And at a time where we're looking at massive state cuts that Governor Corbett wants to make to basic education, those deficits are going to fall down on school districts, and we don't want them to be able to raise taxes through the roof.
Do you think we will ever get to a point where we get rid of property taxes altogether and come up with some other tax?
I think that in order to get rid of property taxes, you have to implement another kind of tax. That's the only way. And unfortunately, I've been in politics long enough to know now that there are people out there that anything that has the word tax associated with it, even if it's a substitute, they'll never be for it in any means. So we're just trying to work in the current system.
Well, State Representative Jesse White, it is such a big topic. Do come back and update us on this, and we'll talk about some other things. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'm Tonya Caruso. Thanks for watching Comcast Newsmakers. We'll send you back now to HLN.